want to tell you a story about something that happened way back in May of 2019. That event made me realize something about my kids that makes them so well adapted to learning languages. Welcome to Ask Tetsu, where I share my experience in raising 4 kids in 5 languages. That's English, French, Japanese, Mandarin, and Spanish. Okay, before I dive into the heart of the story, let me first give all my viewers, the old and the new, some context in order to fully appreciate the story. Now, our family normally lives here in Quebec, where we spend about 8 months of the year. That's from September to April. So I think we can call this our home base. And then we spend about 2 months, that's May and June, in Nagasaki, Japan. That's where mommy is from. And then finally we spend July and August in Taiwan before we come full circle back to Canada to start the cycle all over again. Now, our main purpose for spending a chunk of our time in Japan and Taiwan every year is so that the kids can really strengthen their Japanese and Mandarin. But what about school? Yes, that's very easy. We just send them to the local schools. And that sets the stage for our little story. Now, in late April 2019, our whole family moved again from Quebec, where we had been for the past 8 months, went to Nagasaki, Japan, as we did in the previous years. And our oldest, Ronnie, at that time was 6 years old, and he was joining the first grade at the local primary school. Now, because he was still at the daycare / kindergarten the previous year, this was his first time going to this new elementary school. But he's not alone in this situation, because all of his first grade classmates had all recently just begun attending this elementary school, since the new Japanese school year really only begins a few weeks prior to that, and that is on April 1st. So letting our kids spend time like this in Japan every year not only allows them to improve their Japanese language, but also allows them to truly live the local culture and experience what it means to be like a Japanese kid. And one good example of a cultural experience that every Japanese kid cherishes is the sports day. Or in Japanese, it's called undokai. The sports day at Japanese elementary and middle schools are not just these little field days like what we have here in Canada. It's an elaborate and very organized event. And I think its history dates back all the way back to like the 1800s. All the school staffs and students collaborate and prepare for this day together, with opening and closing ceremonies, with marches, and various games, and of course, races. Sports Day 2019 at Ronnie's school took place on May 26th, and Ronnie had been preparing for it and looking forward to it for several weeks. He was going to represent his class in the 200-meter race. Daddy was not going to miss it for the world. Now, as the stereotypical Asian parent that I am, I obviously had to document this historical event. So I got mommy to record video from around the starting line, and grandpa to hold another phone for the photos from the sides. And I held the main camera from a great place to capture all the key moments, especially when Ronnie comes in first to make Daddy proud. Oh, and to make sure we didn't lose sight of him at any time, we even got him a new pair of bright green socks so that we can easily pinpoint him from anywhere in the field. And so the time finally came. Ronnie was at the starting line, and he doesn't look nervous at all. So that's my boy. The ref's gun goes up. The 5 runners take off at full speed, and the crowd goes wild. Well, at least that's how I remembered it. But unfortunately for Ronnie and for me, the euphoria was very short-lived, because just a few meters into the race, disaster strikes. Ronnie's shoes were tied too loosely, and just as he was reaching his peak speed, it came flying off. And suddenly we regretted attracting all the attention to his bright green socks. Of course, he's forced to stop as the other runners leave him behind. He walks back to his shoes, puts it back on, and proceeds to finish the race. With the whole school watching, my heart sank with both disappointment and shame. Yeah, of course, I said. Good job on finishing the race. but I think Ronnie saw right through my disappointment. My son was supposed to win. Why? Because I always win these races. But at the very least, if I had lost my shoe like that, the last thing I would do was to run that last part with this sheepish smile on my face. I mean, why wasn't he angry or disappointed at himself? A few days later, I met Ronnie's teacher. To my surprise, she told me she was very happy to see Ronnie go back and pick up his shoe and finish the race with a smile. She went on to explain how a typical Japanese first grader, the youngest ones at the school, would have probably crumbled and cried for mommy due to the embarrassment in front of such a big and unfamiliar crowd. And of course in this still relatively new environment. Because remember, the first grade kids are all coming from kindergartens elsewhere in the city, and were usually not quite settled into the new primary school setting at that point. As a matter of fact, many of them even refused to go to the school for the first few months. And Ronnie had even less time than them, since he only joined the school a few weeks after them. So instead of an awkward moment over my son's supposedly embarrassing race, we were pleasantly surprised to receive praise from the teacher for raising a child who demonstrated tremendous resilience and adaptability to changing environments. Wow, I hadn't seen things from that perspective. And once again, my heart was filled with shame, although this time it was actually of myself and not really of my child. But at the same time, the teacher's words also brought me tremendous pride in my son and boosted our confidence in how we raise our children. As parents, we've always believed in raising children who are mentally tough and not afraid of changes, always ready to go to new places, meet new people, and basically constantly picking up new challenges. And according to Ronnie's teacher, that's precisely what Ronnie showed us in that race. But I was too busy focusing on totally inconsequential outcomes of the race, while being completely oblivious to all the wonderful signs of growth and development that was taking place in my boy. Now, to tie this all back to raising multilingual children, I firmly believe that our children's mental toughness and adaptability to changing environments are traits that we as parents appreciate more and more and must not take for granted. These are the very traits that really allow them to move from country to country multiple times a year and seamlessly jump into new social settings without missing a beat. In fact, if it weren't for these traits, many of the things that we're getting them to do to learn languages would simply not work. What exactly are these things, you ask? To find out, I think you should watch this video right here, which summarizes our strategies to raise our kids in multiple languages. But if you've already seen it, then YouTube thinks you should watch this one down here. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.